Wow, I never thought I'd be making a video on Clarence of all shows. So, how did we get here? Over the month of December, Mr. Enter, a prolific creator within the cartoon commentary community, was reviewing what I believe was a marathon of Cartoon Network shows primarily from the 2010s era of the network, an era that I grew up with. During this run, he released a review of Clarence, which led to Ellis Mark, another massive creator, publicly defending the show against Mr. Enter's criticism. So why am I here, throwing my hat into the ring? Because I feel like I'm at a real crossroads here when it comes to this whole Clarence discussion. As someone who not only grew up with the 2010s era of Cartoon Network, unlike Mark, I actually watched Clarence when it first premiered on the network and kept up with the vast majority of episodes as they aired. And by the way, I had no idea this show had 130 episodes. Holy shit. If you had asked me before going into this video, I would have guessed maybe like a max of 80 episodes being spread across 3 years. But to stay on track, my honest opinion on Clarence is that I'm mostly indifferent towards the series. I don't love it or hate it. It was a show that I mindlessly watched as a kid just to pass the time. Looking back, the series doesn't really impress me as a whole, with only a few episodes that I actually enjoyed. With that being said, growing up, I was the type of person to make fun of someone who actually deeply enjoyed Clarence, purely out of shits and giggles. So we're left with a situation where one person is firmly on the side of fuck that show, while the other person is like, nah nigga, this shit is fucking peak. But after watching both videos, I do feel like Ellis Mark was able to make the stronger overall argument in the support of Clarence, especially against Mr. Enter's criticisms, which I saw was being in bad faith and completely misrepresenting what the show actually is. The way I'm approaching this video is that instead of playing the video in the back, I want to jump in whenever I have a disagreement with either of them to pinpoint the moment where I feel like I can add my 2 cents. Remember, there's no drama here, just an open conversation about a well-known show from 3 different perspectives. So drop a like if you're ready, hit subscribe if you're new, and let's do a little reviewing around here. In Mr. Enter's videos, he goes about certain nitpicks he has with the series, criticizing the art style and character designs, the lack of consequences Clarence faced as a main protagonist, and giving incorrect summaries on certain episodes. It all come across as a hate-filled bender that I truly believe muddies his view on the entire show. First, character designs. In my opinion, Mr. Enter is not too far off with his conclusion on the show's art style. In the 2010s era of Cartoon Network, I think it would be a safe opinion to say that of all these shows, Clarence can fall on the ugly side of the spectrum. The show itself doesn't have the most polished or traditionally good-looking character, and even though I don't personally like the art style, I can still see that the entire aesthetic that they went for does work well for the show. It captures a rosy-tinted view of a child while mixing in some jarring and slightly disgusting elements. While rewatching the show to refresh my memory, I think this show executed on this concept really well. Clarence provides a bright, impactful colors and scenery designed to draw a young audience in. And when it comes to the show's character designs, the world of Clarence really leans on using abstract traits among the characters to make them feel distinctive and unique. Enter claims that this choice in the character design makes it seem like each character doesn't belong in their respective show, and honestly, I don't see where he's coming from. I'm not an artist, so I'm not an expert in what makes a good character design, but based on what I'm seeing, I feel like the show has a straight principle on how they go about drawing each character, and I think it's relatively consistent. At one point, he even criticized the black dot pupils that each character shares, even though dark, simple pupils were almost a standard for character designs among the 2010s era cartoons. And when the writers slash showrunners used their character designs to foreshadow a character's personality or role within the show, he then complains about it, specifically with Jeff, saying that him and his mom are too different, sticking out like a sore thumb. And my reaction is that, no shit. Jeff, by design, also how he acts, is the literal odd man out, as he's clearly different from the other kids. When they're loud, he's shy. When they're outgoing, he's more reserved. And when they're chaotic, he's more structured. He's by definition a square, and that's the joke. This is something the show literally tells us in the very first episode, when he's dramatically insistent on not getting a burger in his Happy Meal, even though he could just like throw it away or give it to Sumo.
Alright then, here's what I want you to do. I'd like a side of fries, a kid-sized drink, and one of those toys. The boy one, not the girl one. And you know those bags that say Scout Meal? Put it all in one of those for me, please.
Honey, I'm not gonna do that.
Jeff, why don't you just give the burger to Sumo?
I'm sorry, Mary, but I can't. It's the principle of the thing.
He's a particular type of nigga. And he goes on to say that he doesn't really understand Clarence when he speaks, which confused me. Because looking back when I watched the show as a kid, and when I rewatched a couple of episodes, that nigga has always been audible to me. And the example he provided didn't help his case either.
The problem is that he is so hard to understand. And considering that he's the main character, that's a big problem when I can't understand what he's saying. Let's be fair, maybe it's just me. You try listening to some of his dialogue that's been a while. See if I'm overreacting.
Oh, seriously? But grocery shopping is so boring. Seriously, Mom, I can't think of anything more boring. cool. I'll just put this away for later then, thank you.
If anything, if someone's hard to understand, it's definitely Sumo. The nigga stims mid-speech, not Clarence. But I don't want to harp on something like character design or art direction since that's not really my forte. The second criticism I want to address is how Mr. Enter disliked how the series doesn't hold Clarence accountable for his actions. He even calls Clarence a menace to society.
Usually, it's like Clarence isn't blamed for anything at all. Like, it's just the thing that he does. Yes, the rain cloud gets things wet, but if that's not infuriating enough, all too often Clarence is getting rewarded for this shit, even if it's only in his own mind. It'd be one thing if the show was like self-aware that Clarence never got into trouble despite being a menace to society.
And if you watch the show, that term is only applicable for one episode. From the reviews and videos I've seen from Mr. Enter, he seems like he has a very moralistic standpoint when it comes to children TV shows. He prefers it when they have a good-hearted message that a kid can learn, developing a good moral standard. That's the impression I get from the few reviews I've watched, and since I'm not very familiar with his content, I could be 100% wrong in that assessment. And even so, him wanting Clarence to be punished doesn't serve the show the way he thinks it would. Clarence's main appeal is that it serves as an escapism for his young audience. Clarence is a stupid kid with good intentions, and that idea is repeatedly echoed throughout the series. It's a slice of life show that captures the true essence of childhood, or at least the version of childhood that the current audience at the time were familiar with. I've always gotten that vibe from its opening and ending. Clarence doesn't always need to be held accountable because it simply isn't necessary. Going off my loose memory, I'm pretty sure when Clarence does cross a line, the show does put him back in his place, but in a respectful and age-appropriate manner that doesn't break the escapism that the show provides. While in his tirade about how Clarence needs to be punished, he paints a version of Clarence that just isn't true, making him seem like David. Wait a minute, wrong David. That's right. He claims Clarence made a mess in the arcade while clarifying that within that same episode, that arcade was already a dump. Sure, he broke a few machines, but so did other kids. And he also disregarded the fact that for that entire episode, Clarence was spending his time helping other kids enjoy their time at the arcade. In another episode he provided, Clarence and Sumo do make a mess within a shopping mart that they're at that ends up with Clarence costing his mom coupons that she saved up over the month. Clarence within that moment understood what he did was wrong and made it up to his mom by retrieving the exact same coupons that his mom lost. The kid isn't malicious, he's just dangerously cheerful and naive, and everyone in the show knows that and understands it. The last example he brings up is how in one episode, Sumo and Clarence intentionally put cockroaches in everyone's houses. Yeah, at face value that does sound like some evil kid behavior, but there's context needed for this. I watched this exact episode as part of my refresher. The context is that these niggas didn't know there was cockroaches, they thought they were crickets, and they was actually lied to by a restaurant owner who had an infestation of these bugs and he was trying to get them away.
Oh, hi Mariano. We're just rounding up crickets for
personal use.
Crickets? Yes, crickets. Take as many as you want and come back anytime. They're always here.
And like I said before, the reason they couldn't tell the difference between these two bugs, it's simple. They're both two stupid fucking kids. Like I said before, there are no bad intentions when it comes to Clarence's actions. That's a huge part of his character. The only time Clarence is remotely a menace to society is when he turned emo or goth and punched Belson in the face, which is actually my favorite moment within the episode. By the way, Ellis Mark did a solid job properly summarizing it and explaining the narrator's importance, unlike Mr. Enter. There are actually some points from Mr. Enter I actually agree with, like the idea that Clarence isn't some hidden gem of a show. That's something I'm more inclined to believe, based on my personal preference, especially compared to other shows that was airing at that same era. In that context, Clarence does come off a bit pretty lackluster, and I don't have any strong personal attachments to the series. Where we differ though was how we portray our disapproval of the show. The title Clarence Broke Me and the Neighborhood is kinda OD, because what does that even mean? But the claim that Clarence is the worst show of the 2010s era, and maybe even one of the worst shows from Cartoon Network, begs the question, is that really a bad take? Probably. I guess I'm more inclined not to defend that claim. Growing up, when a new Clarence episode aired, it didn't really draw me in like the other shows did at the time. Shows like Gumball, Steven Universe, Ben 10, regular shows, etc. If I had to grade Clarence as a series based purely how much I enjoyed it, I'll give it like a C, B if I'm really glazing it. I can see what the show was going for, and I think it managed to accomplish it to a certain degree, but it's something I wasn't truly connected to, either growing up or looking back at it right now. If I was in a group of 10 people rating Clarence out of 10 and everyone else gave it an 8, I'll give it a 5 to knock the average down. It's not as bad as Mr. Enter says it is, but it's not really good either. I understand why the show faced a lot of scrutiny back in the day and why people are really evaluating it right now. To me, me, similar to what Mr. Enter said, I just happen to find other shows that did what Clarence was trying to do, but better in my eyes. Overall, recounting what I said earlier, I do believe Ellis Mark did a great job rebutting Mr. Enter's points, providing the necessary context to his claims and allowing a more accurate depiction of Clarence to be seen. I also agree that Mr. Enter stands on Clarence, saying that he got more than he deserved. With 3 seasons and over 100 episodes, I think it's a fair point, especially compared to other shows that got cancelled prematurely. I do believe Clarence got a full chance to run its course, and it did. That being said, I do feel the reason Mr. Enter as hard as he did is because of the mindset he got into while marathoning watching a bunch of shows. Maybe in the future, you can just watch a few random episodes and actually enjoy them for what they were. But what do you, the viewer, think about this conversation about Clarence? Did you like the show? Did you hate it? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm your host, Taken, and we do a little reviewing around here. Peace out.